Hi, welcome to the Accounting Stack. Today I want to walk you through how to pay Google Ads with a credit card and why it matters for your business. My name is Amanda and I'm a financial writer with an accounting degree. So first I want to kind of give you some context here. So in 2024, Google Ads, for certain high volume spenders, so people that were spending the most on ads, we're talking for the most part people that were spending like hundreds of thousands a month in many cases, they received notification that they were no longer allowed to pay for Google Ads with their credit card. They had to switch to either monthly invoicing or direct debit. So even though this was a minority of advertisers that were affected by this change, it really impacted them quite a bit. So this did happen back in 2024. So many of them have kind of already shifted to a different payment method potentially. But in case your business was caught up in this, you might not even be aware that there are some third-party workarounds that you can use to continue paying Google Ads with a credit card. So I will get to those in a moment. But I do kind of want to explain a little more about this change. So as I said, it occurred in 2024. It affects only a small minority of advertisers. So if you never received any notification telling you that you had to switch, then you can continue paying Google Ads with a credit card as usual. But if you were caught up in this change, you can no longer use your card, so you lose access to those credit card points and rewards, which that's really the main reason why a lot of people were using their credit card. Although you also, another advantage of using your credit card is you get more cash flow flexibility. It's an important part of a lot of people's cash flow strategy. You can kind of keep track of payment timing and things like that a little bit better with when you're using credit and not deplete your cash reserves. So that's kind of a recap there. So if you don't want to switch from to monthly invoicing or direct debit and you would prefer to pay with a credit card, there are some options. I will warn you though that all of these options do have associated fees. And so it will cut into the rewards that you get, and for the most part, it will probably entirely offset any rewards. There is a chance that for certain really generous welcome bonuses, you could potentially earn more rewards than what you're spending in fees. But for the most part, the advantage here is more of the cash flow flexibility that you gain. So this is an issue, it's not only affecting people advertising on Google, even though they kind of started this in 2024. Earlier in 2026, in April, Meta Ads followed up with a very similar change. Neither company has been really forthcoming on who exactly is affected, although it seems to be these high spend accounts and only a minority of advertisers. So I'm going to show you some of the available workarounds. So the first one here is Plastiq. You may have already heard of Plastiq. If not, this is kind of its main thing. You can pay with a credit card and then vendors can get paid the way they want. So in this case, Google can receive the payment the way that they want, so like ACH, while you can continue paying with your credit card. So this is a really good tool for that. It's been around a while and a lot of people are pretty familiar with it. It's pretty established in this space. The fees you're looking at here, there aren't any monthly subscription fees, so you're really just looking at transaction fees. You have to pay a payment method fee. So for card payments, it's 2.99% because you're paying with a card, and then a delivery fee based off of how the payment is being delivered. So if it's being delivered via ACH, that's 99 cents. So your total would be 2.99% plus 99 cents. So that's kind of how Plastiq works. So next is Melio. This is another popular workaround that you could use for Google Ads. As you can see, they kind of do the same thing as Plastiq. Just right here on their main page, they talk about how you can pay any business bill any way you want. I will say though that they are a lot more broad than Plastiq. They have a lot more complex bill pay capabilities. So if you're looking for something just for bill pay anyway, and you want to use it for more things than just paying Google Ads, Melio could be a good choice there. And their pricing structure, it is a little bit different because as I said, they do have a lot more features available, like free ACH and all kinds of different things. So with that, you do have to pay for a plan, although they do have a free plan. But it does go up to $80, and then there's also custom plans available. But there is a free plan, so you can get started with that, and even the free plan lets you pay bills with a card. So keep that in mind. And then when you're looking here at the transaction fees, it's a 2.9% fee. So unless you're doing like fast check or overnight check or something like that, but otherwise 2.9% is what you're paying. You don't have like a separate delivery method fee like you do with Plastiq. So that's kind of a look at Melio. So the next one I want to show you is Nickel. So on the surface, this is pretty similar to Melio. It's kind of a broader bill pay solution. It has more capabilities than Plastiq, although it still has that credit card workaround like Plastiq and Melio do. The difference though between Nickel and Melio is really in like the target audience. So Nickel is really geared toward specifically like industrial type of businesses like manufacturing, construction, engineering, architecture, anything else in that vein. Whereas Melio is really just for any kind of business. So other businesses can use Nickel, like anyone could use it, but it is pretty geared toward those kind of businesses. So if you're in any of those fields, it could be a decent option. I am going to show you here their card workaround. They do have it here, pay ACH with a credit card, so you can pay vendors with a credit card even if they only accept checks or ACH, and they do kind of break down how that works. And then pricing wise, there is a free plan. Although the caveat with the free plan is that it has a $25,000 limit per transaction, and in many cases, when you're paying for Google Ads and you were caught up in this change, you probably have higher spending than that. So that's just something to note. And then Nickel Plus is $45 a month, so that removes that transaction limit. And then the transaction fee for card payments is 2.9%, so that's the same as Melio. I wanted to include Pluto here, even though it's probably not going to be suitable for most businesses affected by this Google Ads change. So Pluto is pretty similar to Melio and Nickel. It has a lot of solutions on both the AP and AR sides. Really good for payments. That's really kind of its main strength. And it does have that credit card workaround. Now, the reason I say that it's probably not going to work for most businesses affected by this change is because they do have a $10,000 transaction limit. So that is going to be pretty low for most businesses caught up in this. But if you happen to be like a lower volume spender that somehow got caught up in this Google Ads change, potentially this could be an option for you. So they just call this feature pay by card, and they kind of go through how that works and have a calculator that shows you like your estimated cost and things like that. And then pricing wise, what you're looking at for businesses, the starting plan is $32 a month, and then they have a pro plan that starts from $99 a month. So that is just something to note. And so so the fee for pay by card is 2.9%. That's the exact same fee as Melio Nickel, but keep in mind you do have that $10,000 transaction limit regardless of which plan you have. Lastly, I want to show you Opal. This one was designed specifically around ad spending, so it's really kind of a niche solution here. Right now, their main product is their ad spend credit card, but you don't need their credit card to use their ad pay tool, so that's a new tool that they'll be rolling out. You do have to sign up for the wait list. Currently, it's not live yet, but as you can see here, it's that same kind of solution, pay ad invoices with a credit card. They talk about Meta ads, Google ads, things like that. And so the way that it works is that you do have to pay a processing fee, but you don't have any monthly subscription fee involved. So it's 3% if you're using an Opal credit card, and then 3.5% if you're using your own credit card. So that is something to note. These fees are a little higher than some of the others, but remember, as I said, they don't have a monthly subscription cost that you're looking at. So I hope this helps you kind of get an idea of some of the options that are out there for paying with a credit card, even though Google Ads may no longer accept card payments. So this video is specifically for those affected by the Google Ads change. So if you weren't affected, just continue as usual. But if you still want to use a credit card, especially for that cash flow flexibility that you get, there are tools that you can use and still gain those kind of benefits. So they're pretty similar in a lot of ways, but there's also some differences. So Plastiq As I said, that's kind of its main thing, and it's pretty well known, been around for a while. Melio is pretty good for just basically any business that needs like broader bill pay needs, or that has broader bill pay needs. And then Nickel, similar to Melio, except more industrial. Pluto, if you're a lower volume spender. And then Opal, it's not out yet, but it's something to keep in mind if you want like a really niche tool that's specific to ad spending. So I hope this kind of helps you get an idea of what your options are for paying Google ads with a credit card. So accounting doesn't have to be stressful. It just needs the right systems. Thanks for watching The Accounting Stack. See you in the next one.